Okay, so I'm Matt, and more chatting shit today about the Catacomb Cup. I believe I said Sorcerer's Cup last time, so make sure I get it right this time. Um, this time, very pleased to be joined by three people who are very helpful in the gym group, and that's Chris, Nick, and Jess. How are we all?
Good,
Hello.
thank you.
Helpful.
I think you are. I think you guys are. I think you do God's work in that group. Honestly, I don't know how you put up with us all.
If by helpful you mean keep everyone doing their battles and provide general shit talking, then yeah, they're pretty helpful.
Feel attacked.
Well, do your battles on time then.
Listen. I'll consider it.
I'll never attack you. You're still my tag team buddy.
Yeah, buddy.
Well, let's get into it then. I'm going to ask Nick to start tonight with something I've not given any thought to whatsoever.
Oh, really?
And that's why I've asked him to go first, because I'm completely in the dark here about this. So Nick's going to tell us about Skuntank.
Yeah, Skuntank. He's been a big favorite of mine ever since it's been legal in Twilight. I used him a ton just because of the abundance of Azumarill and the fact that it actually does really well against Azumarill counters because of the poison jabs, which generally is going to be countered by a lot of the grass types to get the Azus out of the way. So that's where my focus actually went with this cup now. Umbreon does very well in this cup, as the rankings all show, but one of its big key counters, if it's not going to be a counter user, is the Frenzy Planters. So Venusaur, kind of Meganium, and then some of the bugs. Well, Skuntank's got Flamethrower to deal with the bugs, and Skuntank's got the Poison Jabs, and Crunch is very spammy, well, relatively spammy given the Poison Jab energy gain, but you're doing super effective stab damage to just about all the grass types that are out there outside of Venusaur, but you just have a very strong Venusaur matchup already. The big issue is it does tend to lose to some of the cores that this meta particularly has, like the Lapras, the Umbreon, Sudowoodos. It loses them in like the lead scenarios. It does kind of get some of an advantage when they switch into your Skuntank with those guys, but I still think it's a very well-rounded Pokemon to be able to counter both the grass and the majority of the bug types that are going to be floating around to be able to protect some of your core Pokemon.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting what you said about Flamethrower. Commented quite a lot this month about how there's very little fire coverage, and we see people using things like Houndoom because of that, just to try and take advantage. That's certainly something I hadn't considered. There's nothing here that wants to take a Flamethrower that, apart from sort of Sudowoodo, but then you've got the spammy crunches, haven't you? So
yeah, Pseudo's not one of its good matchups, but it still will deal damage to it. It's just because that Pseudo comes out on top doesn't mean that Skuntank's not going to put in some work against it. It does need to land a Rock Slide. Rock Slide does about 80 damage to it, but it's pretty tanky. That's still only about half its health.
Right. Yeah,
counters do tend to add up, so that's still pretty good.
Yeah,
I'm just looking at their matchups. So Skuntank does just get to the crunch before Pseudo gets to the second rock throw as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it leaves it with about 33 health, which is not bad, to be honest, especially if you're just ditching it.
True, and especially given that Pseudo is generally on your rosters to counter something else. So, Skuntank being able to put in that kind of damage to something that is really on your team to counter something that isn't Skuntank, I see as a lot of value.
Yeah, definitely. I was just looking at what beats it hard, so you're looking at obviously the ground types, if you're people running Alolan, Graveler, and probably Beedrills as well.
Yeah, actually, that's the thing. I did look at the Beedrill matchup. It's very bait dependent, because the X-Scissors don't do too much. Yeah, the dark typing, it only deals 40 to 50 damage, but then the Drill Run just annihilates it. So if you can get an energy lead or shield the right thing, Skuntank can actually flip that matchup.
Wow, that's pretty good, actually.
Right? Why did I pick this to tell you guys my team?
My first thought when you said Skuntank was Flamethrower, because I was like, with all the grass running around, that's going to be great.
Yep.
And I love Skuntank too. He was one of my MVPs last month in Sorcerer's Cup. So to have him work here would be great.
It's a little trickier to try to replicate your strategy from last month, hiding the Mud Slapper in back, unless you're going to do like Mud Slap Rhydon or even Mud Slap Rhyperior. Does really well against them, but it's not... I
have tried him out a couple times.
The rock damage that you can get from Rhyperior seems more relevant.
Yeah,
definitely.
I think it's one of those where I think we've got a lot of things this month which are just generally bulky and fairly spammy and good with a 2 or 3 fast move lead, like things like Skuntank, like Sudowoodo, like Lapras. Things that are good typically in the one shield scenario, but with a small energy lead, you just get that little extra bit of speed they need, and I could see Skuntank sort of falling into that category. It's funny you mentioned about using it in Twilight. My best memories of it are from Ferocious Cup, actually. I absolutely hated Ferocious Cup. Like, I just couldn't.
You didn't.
It just wasn't for me. I tried being too clever with it. I always try and find a sort of hole in the meta or an exploit, or go for a double up, and Ferocious just wasn't the meta to do that. And until someone eventually just told me, "Oh, just run Skuntank, Umbreon, and Nidoqueen every game, and you'll win 90% of your matches." And I did it, and Skuntank was just amazing. So,
yeah, I use Skuntank and Ferocious too, along with Nidoqueen.
I can't remember what I used in Ferocious, to be honest.
I'm actually trying to pull mine up now.
It's a long time ago now.
Yeah, what was that, November?
I think so. Yeah, September, October, November, maybe. Yeah, November. Yeah. To be honest, I try and forget Ferocious. It's bad times were had there.
Drink to forget Ferocious.
I think it was my worst ever cup, but anyway, we're going on. It's the fact that it's proven in different metas, Ferocious, Twilight, Sorceress, and it's never been bad in any of them. I can see where you're coming from with it being a strong pick here that's not going to let you down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's a pretty good generalist by the sound of things. My concern about it, the reason why I didn't really give it much thought, was that I sort of saw the role of the dark types here as the ghost type counters, which sounds obvious, but I think both Sableye and Frostlass don't really have much that want to counter them apart from Umbreon. And I guess what I was concerned with Skuntank was because it had Poison Jab as the fast move. The matchups with Frostlass in particular would be less than ideal. Certainly not as good as a ghost counter as Umbreon. So do you run it with Umbreon, or do you run it as well as, or without, or what's your thoughts with that?
So it's hard for me to gauge that because I'm still not even sold if I'm actually going to run Umbreon. See, it all depends on like I think the energy can make a huge factor, just like we saw in Sorceress, being able to counter the ghosts. Like looking at the matchup, Skuntank does win the heads up one shield with 2 health remaining.
Right.
So not exactly ideal. You do win a lot better in the 0s, and you lose horribly in the 2s. But with an energy lead on either of them, totally flips the matchup as we saw last month. So I haven't really thought much of what to pair it with. I kind of just liked it as my safe swap option, just as a very good generalist to try to, maybe depending on how a lot of the teams shape up, maybe it's a decent way to bait out something, to be able to counter that and then have something in back to sweep.
Yeah.
That's my logic on using it so far, if it even ends up staying on the team. But right now it's a very strong pick for me.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I can see it working. I think it's a good point you make about being able to counter the grass and the Umbreon at the same time. And then I've been sort of relying on bug types to do that, but then Skuntank, I imagine, probably beats those as well because of Flamethrower.
Yeah, just about all of them aside from See, at least in the PV Poke rankings, it loses horribly to Beedrill, but that's just like the baiting situation. Because if they can bait with an X Scissor and then land the drill runs, you lose. But if you shield the drill run correctly, then you should come out either pretty well off, or the Beedrills basically farm energy for the next Pokemon to come in. You still lose to, if anyone's running a Ryados, and Pinsir are pretty much the big ones of the bugs that you lose to. Actually, it's the only bugs that you generally lose to.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I guess certainly what I'm seeing is Vespiquen and Beedrill being the big ones, and it takes a brave person to go for that X Scissor against the Skuntank when drill runs only 1 or 2 poison jabs more.
You win the Vespiquen matchup by landing a Flamethrower after they go for 3 X Scissors.
Nice. Yeah. So
it does a little bit more damage per energy than trying to land a Power Gem plus X Scissors stab. So probably better to throw the X Scissors.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So not too bad.
Yeah. No. Sounds like a solid pick to me. Any closing thoughts, Jess or Chris?
No, I've always liked Skuntank, so if he can make them work. I will say that I have been running Beedrill, my community day Beedrill, because I figured there would be a bunch of dark poisons running around.
Yeah.
I think Skuntank, even if you're not going to necessarily go with it in your final team, it's definitely something worth powering up, because it's a good generalist, and if you'd play with it in this practice for this cup and like it, then you may just find a way to make it work, and if not, you've got one ready for the next time. It is actually very viable in a meta, because we've seen it pop up in 4 or 5 cups already, so I'm sure it'll be back.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's move on then to another sort of alternative dark type, although it's mainly doing grass damage, and that's Chris and Shiftry.
Yeah, so I've run it in 2 practices now. It does have some interesting matchups, some wins you may not expect it to pick up. Obviously, the main reason I'd be running it is as a counter to Umbreon. So long as you can correctly, if they have got Last Resort, so long as you can shield that, you're obviously in a pretty strong position. Leaf Blade being as spammy as it is, especially with Bullet Seed being just a Snarl clone, I think it's 3 Bullet Seeds to get to your Leaf Blades, which is a ridiculous amount of spam to get out on the field. But also, it as I said, it beats Umbreon in most matchups. But then it will also get some decent wins. Like it does pick up, I think it was Frostlass. It can beat that in the one shield. But it also manages to beat some of the meta breakers that we might see. So I know on a previous episode, someone was talking about Alolan Graveler. Obviously, it picks up the wins over that. If you see anyone bringing Caracosta, it's going to pick up that one as well. And also Rhyperior, that's another one that people might bring as a bit of a meta breaker. It's a very safe counter to all of those.
Looking at you, Matt.
I will confess, I started my weighted cup tonight, and Umbreon isn't in the squad. But Rhyperior is. So, yeah.
Shocker.
I think the other key thing about Shiftry is, having just had the community day, a lot of players are going to have a good one to hand, or at least a cheap one to hand. So you obviously want it with the community day move in this cup.
Yeah, that was
really
going to be my question.
Snarl.
So you're running community day Shiftry, not Snarl Shiftry.
Not Snarl. I mean, it will probably pick up things like the 2 ghosts. So if you're facing off against Sableye or Frostlash, you may pick up those a little easier. But I think in the long run, you get a better overall set of results with Bullet Seed, especially when they're basically the same move. I just think the typings you do much better with that one.
Yeah,
there's a lot of grass weakness running around, so I agree.
Yeah, you obviously have to avoid a fair chunk of things, unfortunately. I know, obviously, the bugs, you don't do very well against any of those, being double weak to the dark type moves. If anyone's brave enough to run Leopard or Drapion, then you're going to have a bad time against those two. But it does what it does well, which is just getting a lot of quick moves, a lot of charge moves out quickly.
Yeah, I think again, similar with Skuntank, I think we've seen it have success in previous cups. I don't know whether you guys used it in Fusion Cup, but I certainly did, and it was absolutely outstanding in Fusion Cup. It was just incredible. And then we've seen its use in GBL as a sort of versatile pick as well. Being able to take on Altaria.
The Caleb strat was one of my favourites to run during Great League.
Yeah, so we've seen it's because of that like incredibly fast spam and how hard it hits. Even in a bad matchup, you're going to land Dark Pulses, and if
Foul play.
Yeah, foul plays. That's the one. Yeah. So if the worst things you could be possibly locked in against in this meta are, let's say, Pinsir and Breloom, you probably still get into a foul play against them, and you're probably still doing 60-70%. So
yeah, I mean the other thing is it's 4 quick moves to the foul play, but it's only 3 to the second as well. So if you do come in with an energy lead, there's always a chance that you get that second move off as well. And even if you don't, I think it's if you go for the foul play first, it's 3 to either Leaf Blade or foul play the second time. Unfortunately, you don't get just that little bit of extra energy, but it's definitely one to consider.
Yeah, absolutely. No thoughts of Hurricane on it?
I actually had been waiting to chime in on that.
Well, originally, no. I was definitely running the 2 standard, or the Caleb moves. And then I think in one of the practices the other day, I came up against another gymmer, Chris Caldwell, and I did not shield his charge move, and he hit me with the Hurricane, and I was completely shocked. So in the mirror matchup, that's obviously a great move, and it does give you a potential nuke against some of the bugs. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think it has some play for sure with all the bugs running around and the other grass types. Definitely be a nice little surprise.
I like it as kind of a, because of how fast Snarl or Bullet Seed charges for you, it's kind of a halfway decent, if not like unbelievable Hail Mary play. Because obviously everybody knows, like, you should know what's going to be there for countering Shiftry, whether it's going to be poison damage or bog damage or fighting. Having access to something like that you can just kind of, generally by the time they're going to switch in, you should be about 2 Snarls into that. And if they know the matchup, they're going to assume it's either a Leaf Blade or a Foul Play, and whatever they switched into it can tank it. But maybe they're going to think like, oh, he's just trying to double up on Leaf Blades and fire them back to back, so that way I miss a fast attack of getting chunk damage, and so then you throw that one big nuke, could flip a matchup for you. And while you were talking about that, I pulled up the PvPoke win-loss ratios between the 2 of them. And if you go the default route with Bullet Seed, Leaf Blade, Foul Play, you have 70 wins, 65 losses, and 1 draw. Not the best, but generally what you win very well, and what you lose, it's the bugs with like Bug Bite and Struggle Bug, which who's using Struggle Bug Pokemon? But if you do happen to flip, if you flip Foul Play to Hurricane, your win ratio jumps to 84 wins and 51 losses.
It's more than got play then.
It does have play. I also had an issue, or an incident, where I was doing some practice battles, and I brought my Venusaur in on a Shiftry, and it was Bullet Seed, so I didn't think much of it. Like, I'm just going to resist the damage, and I'm just going to get to this Sludge Bomb before he can really hit me for too much. And I thought, yeah, I don't care. I'll tank a Foul Play. And it Hurricaned one-shot my Venusaur.
Oh, damn.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think putting it in the context of what you're bringing Shiftry to be, you're bringing it for the grass move and the ability to beat ghosts, presumably, and Umbreon. You're not going for foul play against Umbreon.
No.
I imagine you beat Sableye with just Leaf Blade, and Frostlass is pretty energy dependent anyway. Like, you're not overturning a Frostlass match if Frostlass has got a bit of energy. So I guess I'd kind of think, well, why not run Hurricane? I mean, I can't say for sure. I've not checked any sims. Frostlass might be able to overturn it, but yeah, I think I'd be running Hurricane with Leaf Blade. I think
in like the head-to-head, you definitely lose to Frostlass with Hurricane.
Really? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Just because you lose that stab foul play that nearly one-shots it. Even with Bullet Seed, it's only doing 5 per hit, but the foul play hits for over 100, and just the amount of energy that you farmed up for the baited Leaf Blade and then the actual energy for the foul play, you will KO. Just as, I mean, if Frostlass gets that 1 Powder Snow energy advantage, I believe it flips the matchup, but you kind of need that foul play to be able to KO. You lose pretty bad just going straight Leaf Blade, I believe, unless you're in the 2 shield or unless you're running Snarl.
Even then, we're talking about a grass type defeating an ice type. I know we've got the secondary types, but realistically, if you're bringing it as that grass attacker, that it even has a shot with foul play as a, it's only got that shot because of foul play. If you're looking at it, if it's not your ice counter or your Frostlass counter, then if you can get up to that Leaf Blade and get out to something else to take that avalanche, you're probably okay anyway in that situation.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I did try, and I flipped it to Snarl from Bullet Seed. You will win the matchup going straight Leaf Blade, just because of the added extra stab, super effective dark damage from Snarl.
You then lose the Umbreon.
Yeah, I'm not about to say that you need to switch that just for that particular matchup. I mean, if you feel overly weak to Frostlass, maybe that's a good move, but if it was down to the wire and I needed to pick, I kind of like your original suggestion of going with the Bullet Seed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll both have play, depending on your other team structure.
True.
I think you'll definitely surprise people if you're running Snarl. They won't be expecting that in this cup, I don't imagine.
Probably not, no.
I think another thing we probably shouldn't overlook is Razor Leaf. I know with Lapras being so popular, I've seen people running Razor Leaf as a way of beating Lapras faster. Now, I'm not for a second saying that Shiftry is the best Razor Leaf user in the cup, but if you were wanting to, if you were really not sure what to have as your 6th, then you were looking a bit weak to Lapras and you wanted to catch something out. Yeah.
It's certainly an option. I think I'd probably be looking for something with a little more defense. Probably, is Victory Bell allowed in this cup?
Yes. It is.
Yeah, that's. If I was looking for a Lapras counter, I'd probably be looking more down that line. But I think the main thing with Shiftry is its strength is in its ability to spam the board with charge moves, and Razor Leaf just takes that ability away from it, and without the HP to keep firing its Razor Leafs, I'm not sure it's best suited to that. If you surprise people by running Snarl, you'll certainly surprise them by running Razor Leaf, though.
Yeah. No, I think I agree. I think, I mean, almost certainly there's probably better options out there, but just worth considering. Any other final thoughts on Shiftry?
Man, I hadn't thought about Razor Leaf. I wonder actually how much it shreds a Sudowoodo. I mean, you think about that matchup because Shiftry's weak to the counter damage, but I'm still not going to advocate for Razor Leaf, just as I'm not going to try and tell you what fast move to run.
No, certainly not. Shiftry, it beats Sudowoodo with Razor Leaf if you shield once. But I imagine it probably beats it with Bullet Seed as well. Yeah, and it beats Sudowoodo in the ones with Bullet Seed anyway, so I think Bullet Seed or Snarl, probably Bullet Seed in my mind.
You are worried about Lapras. Shiftry's not really the one with Bullet Seed for sure, because that just on the fact that you get KO'd before even getting close to the. I know it only takes 3 quick moves, but you don't get anywhere near to your 3rd Leaf Blade to KO in the 1 shield.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, well that feels like Shiftry covered pretty solidly. I guess we've not said much about Feint Attack, but I feel like Razor Leaf was clutching at straws enough, wasn't it? So let's not go into that. Another grass type, something I mentioned in the previous episode, sort of in passing, but I think it's got some really nice play. Jess, do you want to tell us about Cradily?
Yes, I love Cradily. I call it a rock flower. So it's the rock grass type. It is weak to bug and fighting and ice, but it does actually win against Sudowoodo and Beedrill, Vespiquen, Agrav, and my boy Macargo.
Ooh.
So, I mean, when I ran the Sims on PV Poke, it does pick up 85 wins, 49 losses, and 2 draws. Bullet Seed, Grass Knot, and Stone Edge. They're pretty good. Like, Bullet Seed generates energy really quickly. I have no idea. I'm not a numbers people like you, especially, or Nick, so I don't know how many turns it takes to get to each move. But I do know, like, they're pretty similar when I've been running it.
Yeah.
And that actually, it touches on something that we talked about in the gym chat earlier today, like running double grass, which I have been thinking about doing. Running a Razor Leafer and Cradily with Bullet Seed. You know, I feel like it gives good rock coverage. And
Cradilly's got a lot of good bulk.
Yeah. And I got a really good one. So I've been trying to make it work for a couple cups now. And I haven't really quite committed to it yet, especially ever since I got Bullet Seed. So I haven't actually ran it yet, but it's definitely something I've been trying to.
As long as they fixed it too. Wasn't there an issue recently where Bullet Seed was not in the move pool?
Yeah, it was like Legacy for like, 30 minutes or something? Where you couldn't get it, and then they brought it back. It does also lose against like the darks, the darks, especially that you're going to see. Umbreon and how do you say that? Swellius?
Everyone says it slightly differently, I think. It's like one of them.
Yeah, but to us, it's more fun to hear it in your accents.
Oh.
Right.
Assuming it's German, it would be Zwilus.
Yeah, I'd go Zwilus. Yeah.
And then, I think it loses to Shiftry and Drapion and Venusaur, but it's weak to bug too. So you kind of got to keep it away from some of those bug types. But
I don't think
it's
anything
also got Stone Edge.
Yeah, I don't think anything you just said there is a drawback particularly, because that's something that the vast majority of the grass types do.
Right.
And as you say, Stone Edge.
Right.
No, I tried running Tangrowth because of Rock Slide, and it just doesn't pack the punch that you want it to. Or a Stone Edge from a Cradily.
Does a lot of damage.
Yeah.
I was actually running it in GBL for a while.
Wow.
Really?
When it first came out with Bullet Seed, I was running it because a lot of people didn't know it. And if you're not PvP nerds like us, you don't know that Cradily can have Stone Edge. So they bring their flyer out because they think, oh, this is a grass type. And like Altaria, I saw that all the time. I hit it with a Stone Edge and gone. And they were probably like, what the hell is this?
Where's that leave battle button?
Right, exactly. So that was pretty fun for a while.
I was looking at its, as you said, it picks up Sudowoodo as a win, which is pretty impressive and important in this.
Yeah.
I was looking with a 1 quick move lead though. Sudowoodo will get to that second Rock Slide and leave it with 3 HP.
Yeah.
Which, although you still pick up the win, assuming you get in there quick enough, it's gonna hurt you a lot. I think that's going to be the case with a lot of matchups. It's your timing is for your switch-ins is going to have to be absolutely on point, because if you start giving up 2 or 3 quick move leads to anything, you're going to find yourself in a lot of trouble. But by that same merit, especially with the Cradily running Bullet Seed, it may only need that 1 or 2 extra quick moves to actually get it to that Stone Edge, especially if you're coming up against a bug at the end. Yeah. As that sort of one-shot nuke, it's a hell of a weapon to have in the arsenal.
And with the game in the state it's in, being on 3 health is never nice, because what's that? If you lose 1 bullet seed, you're giving your opponent 1 fast move, and that changes games, you know. But everything will have that issue at some point, so I try not to fixate on that too much. But if it's a key matchup, then maybe it's worrying. But I think the pros of Cradily are quite unique, and I think that comes with the sort of unique typing as well. I think anything that's got unique typing is always worth a look at. Yeah.
I don't even think like a Rock Slide from Pseudo Wodo. I think it doesn't even take super effective damage. I don't think.
No, it takes.
I want to say it's like 2 or 3.
It takes 45 HP, or does 45 damage to a Cradily. Which, if you get to the Leaf Blade, the Grass Knot first, you come away with 48 HP. If you miss a quick move, as say, you're coming away with 3. So it's very important that you get the timings right. When you've been running Cradily, then are you generally using it in the lead position or as in the back?
I kind of keep it in the middle or the back. I haven't really. I don't know. We did a practice the other day and I lost every round, so I'm still like trying to work on a team and trying to work out my strategy for this month. So I don't think I would lead with it though. I don't know. I'd have to see.
Yeah, it would have to really depend on their team comp, but
yeah,
if they're overloaded on bugs, maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know. I feel like it's something I would keep in the back, or just to like kind of bring out when I need it. I don't think I would lead with it. Definitely not.
I think that's what I've been finding when I've doubled up on various things. As you say, that it'd probably be part of a grass double up. I think you'd probably want to keep the sort of secondary one in the back to do the more specialized matchup, whereas you might want to use something like Venusaur or a Razor Leafer or Meganium to do the sort of core.
I was actually joking with Phil after we did a couple practice battles, and I was like, well, that's my strat for the month. I'm just going to lead with a Razor Leaf and hope that they lead with something that I'll kill it.
Yeah.
I mean, there really isn't too much that resists a lot of the Razor Leaf damage, so that's not too bad. And then another big perk of Cradily is that your 2 primary sources of damage are obviously the 2 charge attacks of Grass Knot and Stone Edge. They're so similar in energy costs, it's so hard to actually like comfortably switch in. Like if you wanted to try to soak a charge attack on something else, chances are you could actually, if you catch it properly, you could flip the matchup by firing the other charge attack. So you're not going to actually soak that Grass Knot on your B-Drill. You're going to get hit with a Stone Edge, and so much for your B-Drill.
Right, exactly.
Because of bullet seed getting so much, it's 5 energy difference. Sorry, go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, I was just looking at those, both Vesper Queen and B-Drill. In the one shield matchup, assuming you get them to shield the Grass Knot, doesn't matter. They get off 2 or 3 X scissors, depending on which one you're running. But if you get that, if you take away that shield with the Grass Knot, you get to that Stone Edge in time to come away with quite a healthy amount of HP left. I mean in the B drill it was 27 HP, which may be enough to farm enough to another Grass Knot. And I think with Vesper Queen it was a little bit more actually.
Nice.
Even with super effective, is it super effective Fury Cutter? Yeah, it is.
That's the thing.
It is, yeah.
I mean, yeah, but even so, Fury Cutter, X Scissor,
they
will get off. They'll get that. They'll get that move off on you, but you still walk away with 44 health if you get that shield with the Grass Knot first.
I think there's a really nice comparison to be drawn here between Cradily and a Lowland Graveler. Actually, I come to think of it as a sort of a secondary rock type that you perhaps don't want to rely. You want something a bit faster, more energy, faster. Use your words, Matthew. Come on, something that charges your energy faster. And it does the same thing as beating Lapras. Not quite as convincingly, but if you've got a one shield, if you've got a one bullet seed advantage, you beat Snarl. You beat Lapras really convincingly. I'm very tired.
I mean, same damage, energy.
Yeah, and we've been talking about Shiftry, so yeah. But it's if you have the one bullet seed advantage, you beat Lapras really convincingly.
That was my other thing, with Lapras. Like, it's taking super effective damage from either charge move that you pick.
So,
and they're both stab too.
Right.
Yeah.
So
it's not just like a coverage secondary attack. This is
it's decent. So, and I feel like a lot of people are going to be running Lapras. So,
absolutely, yeah.
Nick makes his face. He's like, not me.
I like it's so hard to not after investing so much dust into.
However many we have.
I think I've got 4 right now, and I was planning on a 5th, but
pretty sure I have that many too.
Yeah, I can't just not want to, and that's what the big issue with Umbreon is too. Like, it's so hard to not after burning an Elite TM on it and then wanting to use Lapras because it has so many good comfortable matchups that. But it's going to be very prepared for, so it could be very beneficial to throw your opponents through a loop by cutting it.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like it's exactly like Umbreon, Lapras and Umbreon. They're both really great Pokemon. They have bulk, they're tanks, but I don't know. And I think we've all covered this before. I just don't think Lapras or Umbreon either are going to play an important role on my team, other than, hey, it's a tank.
That's bold. That's bold.
It is, but it's a valid point. Not running both, you're definitely going to need to do your research on matchups of whatever you're replacing it with that can do something similar. The surprise factor is obviously going to be there, which is nice, but if you don't know them ahead of time, then you kind of wasted it. You might as well have gone with it. But I do like a lot of the surprise factor picks. Do I know of any? Nope. And if I do, not sharing.
Yeah. I think there's so many. I think we're going to see a lot of that where I think a lot of people think that the sort of first 4 picks almost pick themselves in this, where it's a sort of a Sudowoodo, a grass. A lot of people will have Lapras, and then a lot of people will have Umbreon or a bug of some sort. I think those last 2 slots are where it's going to be crucial to know the matchups, because there's so many things, like we said Pinsir, we said Cargo, Rhyperior, Cradily, Shiftry, Skuntank, all examples of, you can't possibly know the sims and the matchups for all of them. But if you know the ones for yours, you catch your opponents out. And I think that's where games could be won and lost this month. And I think Cradily is a really valuable one to put in that role, because, as we say, it can sort of fill the 2 slots as a sort of secondary grass and a secondary rock.
Right.
Really
typing dual role. It's damn it! Now I got to rethink my team.
Now I've got to try and look for a good IV one.
I was lucky during there was like a Laleep event, or there was like a rock event or
fossil
something.
event.
That's it.
Yeah.
I caught a really good one in the wild, so I have been lucky with that.
I've got quite a few random picks that I've got random rank 6s or whatever, but I don't think Laleep is one of those, unfortunately.
Yeah. It's kind of a rarer Pokemon, too.
And it's a 75,000 move unlock as well, isn't it? For the second number, I think.
I think so. I'm not sure.
Isn't it? I thought it was 50.
I don't know what it is.
Considering a lot of the time it's been locked away behind 7k eggs, it does make it a little more unlikely that you've got a good one lying around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, well, any further thoughts on Cradily? Or should we move on? Or...
Keep it quiet or Jess will come at you.
Okay, so my pick for today is Sableye. Now, I've never used Sableye in a Silph Cup. I know a lot of people really love Sableye. I've always sort of seen it as a sort of jack of all trades, master of none sort of thing. Even in the cups where ghost types are good, like Rose Cup and Sinister Cup, I always found a ghost that did something else as well better than Sableye.
Illegal and sinister.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Well, that's probably why I didn't use it in Sinister then. Yeah, I've always felt that there's been other things that do a specific thing better, and another ghost won't vastly underperform a Sableye. However, here we've only got Frostlass and Sableye as the ghosts, and Frostlass seems to be picking up in popularity more and more, and for good reason. It's a great pick. Trudy talked about it on the previous episode of Chatting Shit, and I think we all agreed it was a fantastic pick.
She stole what would have been mine.
I'm sorry about that.
But she was much more knowledgeable about it too, so I actually felt really glad that she did. So, kudos, Trudy.
Yeah, fair enough. Now, my argument would be the appeal of Frostlass is the ghost typing in my mind, because it allows it to take on the bugs and it allows it to take on Sudowoodo, which there isn't much that can do that. But the ghost typing, ghost resisting bug and fighting is nice in that regard. But my argument is, if you're going to pick Frostlass, why not pick Sableye instead? Because you're not weak to the rock.
Why not both?
Well, why not both?
Double ghost.
Sorry?
Double ghost would be a brave strategy, but I don't think it's a bad one.
No. Well, this is it. If Umbreon continues to drop off the face of the earth, it could be amazing. But yeah, I think Sableye doesn't resist rock, and it's not having its fast moves resisted by Lapras. Yeah, I mean, there's trade-offs there because it's sub-dark type, so it doesn't actually resist bug. It's only neutral to it, so it's not quite as good against the ghosts. And it doesn't have the such quite broken charge moves. Avalanche and Shadow Ball. I can't think of a Pokemon in the game that wouldn't be improved by having either of those moves added to its move pool. So Frostlass is great, but I just think for how I'd be using the ghost type as a sort of neutral counter to the ghost, to the Sudowoodo, Breloom, and the bugs, I think Sableye would be the ghost type I'd go for. I think it's fantastic. I just wish I had the bottle to pick it, because I think everyone's going to run Umbreon. Or not everyone, but 95% of people are going to run Umbreon. And in my first practice game this month, I ran Sableye plus 5 Umbreon counters in the team. just as a sort of a bit of an experiment. And
so practice is for.
Well, yeah, exactly. I didn't, but I only played one game with it against Lost Lapras, and even then I didn't feel comfortable bringing the Sableye just in case. So I think it's a really good, it's a really high risk reward pick. Frostlass, if you get Frostlass caught in versus Umbreon, you can at least get an Avalanche off, which will do a fair whack. But I think if I was bringing a ghost, I'd be looking at the reward rather than the risk, I think. So I don't know. What do you guys think?
One thing I will say for it is there's not really any other candidates in this cup for being your best buddy booster. So that's definitely something, especially if you've already had one powered up for previous cups and you've got it to that best buddy status. I don't think there's anything else in this cup that justifies having that best buddy status, is there?
No.
Barnsley?
The only thing I could think of would be Bayleaf, but I don't think that's a great shout. A Razor Leafer with a rock type move, even if it is ancient power. But yeah, I don't think that's an option really.
So it's got that going for it, and if you already have that, it will presumably put you at a slight advantage over anyone who doesn't have that. I recently managed to get a lucky 98%, which I've maxed out specifically for practice in this cup, and as you say, it's it definitely fills that jack of all trades role, because it's something that when you lead with it, if they're not leading Umbreon and they've not got Umbreon in their line of 3, they don't always know what the best thing to switch into is. And if they do switch, you will, and you've got, it gives you that immediate switch advantage. It kind of puts people into a, rather than putting immediate shield pressure on people, it just puts them at a bit on edge and makes them make mistakes rather than winning. Yeah, exactly. Rather than winning you the game by being good, it'll win you games by making other people make mistakes. And I think that's, when you're talking about the risk and reward, that's certainly something to consider.
I mean, I think that's a perfectly valid strategy. I mean, I'll not be shy. I have 2 things in my team of 6 that I don't know a great deal of matchups about, but I just know that if I was facing them, I wouldn't have a clue what to do. So, yeah. So I think that Sableye's definitely got that going for it, and I think that's always a good thing.
Yeah. I do have to say that after our gym practice the other night where I lost all 4 rounds, I asked Jamie to practice with me, and I was like, let me try Sableye. So I specifically asked him to lead Pseudo Widow, and I led Sableye because I wanted something that was going to take neutral damage, a dark type that was going to take neutral damage from counter, that wasn't going to be super effective. So I was actually thinking about running both Double Ghost. I did register a team for a tournament with Frostlass and Sableye. So we'll see how it goes.
I mean, we talk about bench pressure. That's sort of inverse bench pressure, isn't it? Right. If you put the Ghost, you can almost guarantee your opponent's bringing Umbreon.
Yeah.
When it's such a good mon anyway.
Right. And
but how often are you thinking to bring both?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like that totally, like, at least from my perspective, that would mess with my head so much to think, I need to counter, what do I have that can do well against both ghosts in the event that they only bring one of them? And then will it do well if they elect to not bring either of them?
Yeah.
It's like, that's so much thought on the opponent's side that can just benefit you so much by having these, like the double grass, double ghost, different mentality to try to counter.
And I am actually running my lucky purified one, so it does have return on it for that nuke.
Nice.
That was something I looked at too. You do get a couple of different wins by having return.
Yeah.
You get a couple of different wins by having power gem.
So that's actually what I have on it. I have power gem in return. So I opted for no dark charge move.
See, mine was also purified, and I took the decision to, I mean, I'm giving away information here to gymmers, but I got rid of return mostly because I wanted to be able to to be able to pick up the wins against the bugs for this cup. Long run, that may end up hurting me, but I wasn't brave enough to run return and power gem.
I actually have 2. This is my second Sableye. I do have a regular 98 that I have best buddied. So that has the traditional Sableye move pool. But I really wanted to try the return one. So we'll see how it goes. It's not my 10 times weighted cup, so we'll see.
I think going back to what Nick was saying about struggling to pick against something where they've got the 2 of the same thing there. I ran
still different roles too.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's true. It can be difficult to pick both for you and your opponent actually. But when it pays off, it pays off well. I ran Venusaur and Ivysaur together the other night in a practice tournament. I decided that Venusaur was so good, I want 2 of them. Now, when it worked, it was spectacular. It was really, really good. However, the very second you come up against a Beedrill, it's a similar thing. If you're running the 2 ghost types and your opponent's got Umbreon, I think it's a step too far. I think personally.
I mean, depending on how much chip damage you can get or an energy advantage on either one of the ghosts that you can get, you have play against Umbreon, but it's still not favorable. So if you get locked into a bad matchup, at least you can do a decent amount of chip damage to it to possibly have a counter. As long as you don't lose that counter, it's not such the end of the world to maybe sack a shield and get that extra charge attack hit in, then bring the hard counter and they switch out. You bring the other ghost back in, so that way you might have that solid, favorable way to sweep out the back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's another benefit of Sableye over Frostlass. I mean, I know it's not the bulkiest thing in the world, Sableye, but it's not actually weak to dark like Frostlass is.
Right.
So, you know, that could be one where it's worth investing the shield, as Nick was saying. Pardon me, particularly if you've got return. I mean, I don't know if you're going to get to 2 returns, but nothing like taking a return.
Right.
I faced someone yesterday or this morning, or all the days blur into one at the minute. But I faced someone very recently who was running a return Blossom. And my God!
Oh, well, Bullet Seed, yeah.
Yeah, and you know that does 75% to your Venusaur or whatever. You know, it's
Yeah.
Jesus.
And that's coming from Blossom, which is more on the bulky side compared to something like Sableye.
Right.
So, yeah, I don't know what I'd be running. Again, I've not massively looked at the Sims, but I think if I had a return one, I think I'd be running it.
If you have a return one, if you get one quick move lead on a Umbreon in the no shields, you win.
What?
If you have one energy lead, so one Shadow Claw lead, if you go double return with Sableye, you will KO an Umbreon before it gets to the third foul play.
Well, that's incredible.
Somehow. I don't know if that's...
I'm not sure.
It looks like they slightly overcharge on the third foul play, which means you would get there first.
Holy shit. That's mad.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa. All right, I need to get some lucky friends with a Shadow Sableye.
I'll put that in the gym chat for you guys to see.
Yeah,
just in case you don't believe me.
No, I've just pulled it up on my screen.
I still want to see it.
Don't put it in there.
Yeah, no, don't put it in
If they want to know this information, they got to watch this stuff.
Yeah. I pulled it up on my screen.
It's crazy that.
That's incredible. Yeah.
I'm regretting DMing for turn away now.
All right, go out and find another one.
Yeah. Mind you, there's not an awful lot of people walking around with Shadow Sableye at the moment.
No.
Yeah, it's really rare.
And if they do, they're probably PvPers anyway.
Yeah. Which is probably I told Nick this the other day when we were chatting. I was like, I think I kind of want to run Sableye. I'm like, I don't know if it's just an excuse to use my new one, but I kind of want to run it. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes.
Well, there you go. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to go away. I haven't got a return Sableye, but I might have to try and find one now.
Yeah, you probably should.
Yeah, that's impressive. That's a real good find, Chris. Yeah. Well, any other thoughts, or should we wrap it up, or any final thoughts about anything we've discussed this evening?
I mean, I want to know more about the Azumarill and Dialga stories from Nick, but I think that's for another chatting shit, to be honest.
Yes, yeah. So yeah, so we had an interval between the first parts, and Nick was telling us that if you double shield an Azumarill against the Dialga, you come out.
Rock smash Azumarill.
That's it.
Get your TMs ready. Best buddy it. A hundo. Best buddied Azumarill will win the 2-0 shields with Rock Smash. Comes out with 38 health.
I can tell there's going to be some fun gym formats coming up soon. I can see it now.
And give it a look for Premier Cup, because I hear Rhyperier's a thing. You can Rock Smash down a Rhyperior. I haven't run that sim. I'm just assuming here. Quality content.
There we go.
Always.
You heard it here first, guys. You heard it here.
Can't wait for the Premier Cup chatting shit episodes. Get me on for those.
Thanks, partner.
Yeah, do you know, Premier Equal I think it's really exciting. I quite like the look of Melothic, but that's for another day. You never see it on any
Mike
of his
Wilkinson about him.
Yeah, right.
He's been running Melothic since day one.
In Ultra, yeah, and Indigo, yeah.
There we go. That fills me.
I'm pretty sure I have one just because of him.
I just don't want to walk it. It's such a pain. I'd rather be working on my best buddy progress, and I don't want to buddy it to evolve it.
I know you're doing so good on your best buddy progress.
So I already have a maxed out hundo, so I can skip a few steps there. So that'll do me fine.
Nice little brag.
Yeah.
Put your phone on a Roomba and let it walk itself.
Does that work?
He's like, wait, let me go get a Roomba.
My friend has a Roomba. I'll just lend it to them for the weekend.
Does that work? It's been hitting me in the foot this entire call.
Oh, dear. Well, yeah, let's leave it there then. Thanks. Thanks so much for joining, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
It's been a good one tonight, and no one chats shit like Jim. So I think that's been proven in the past couple of minutes, if nothing else. So yeah, catch you all later.
Bye.
Yep.
Bye.